just fine. And especially the ones that actually have a little bit of black pepper in them. And there are ones that have, they call it pepperin, very cool name to remind you that there's black pepper in it. So yeah, so spices are an incredible way of adding anti-inflammatory compounds to your foods. Okay, any other questions? All right, so the things that are available in nuts and seeds are the good fats. Okay, fats are not bad, and we'll talk about that. There's a good fat and there's a bad fat. The good fat is polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats, and they're found in plants, nuts and seeds. Well, Dean kind of opened this bag and started eating it, but you know, things like cashews.
I test everything.
He tested it. We have some pistachios, some hazelnuts, and any other ones. You know, just having a handful of nuts every day provides the best source of fats that we all need. And we'll talk to you about how to make salad dressings from nuts, which are incredible sources of polyunsaturated fats. Yes, sir?
Yeah, we bought your book, by the way. It's fantastic. If anybody hasn't read it yet, you can literally use it now. I'll put a plug in for you. The thing that, you're on nuts, and we went to Costco and got the mixed nuts,
yes.
but they're roasted. And my wife said, no, that's not the right kind of nuts.
Yes,
You
yes.
gotta have raw nuts. Is
Yeah.
that right?
It doesn't matter. I think you can have roasted nuts, like
But
the
not
ones that I
salted,
have.
though.
Yeah. So yeah, raw is better because usually when they roast nuts, they add salt. Usually, there are sometimes roasted without any salt, and that's okay. We're trying to cut down on salt too. You know, a lot of people who have blood pressure and they have minor strokes, that salt is incredibly bad for them. And you know, you can get your day's worth of salt in just a couple of nuts. It has so much salt in it. So yeah.
We've had, and the beauty of nuts and is that you can actually, we have a patient, the most motivated 85-year-old we've ever seen. This gentleman is well planned. He has a little backpack. It's full of nuts and little seeds and things of that nature. Why? Because he says, I check where I'm going. He goes to restaurants ahead of time, finds out all this stuff. And if the restaurant doesn't adapt the diet, he has his bag of nuts, berries, and all that stuff ready. It sounds funny, but you know, health, we you know, penny wise, dollar foolish. We are so penny wise about so many other things. But when it comes to health, we're not prepared. Preparation is everything. And it's always that failure when you go to a party or when you go to a restaurant that actually then fails everything else. So being prepared is great, and a source of vitamins and good fats and calories is nuts. One of my patients came and said they lost a lot of weight. Actually, a couple of my patients. When they go to this whole food plant-based diet, bar none, people lose weight. But you don't want to lose too much weight. So one source of good calorie, really good calorie, are the nuts. I mean, I didn't eat too much of it, so don't worry, I didn't get too much. But a handful of this is 200 calories.
Yes.
I mean, that's a minimum on the average. And some of these, I call them, although we don't believe in the superfood, you know, because it's too easy. We don't. People get caught up on the one food instead of the food group. But some of these are amazing. The sunflower seeds is the highest source of omega, highest source of vitamin E, and highest source of good polyunsaturated fats. And who would have thought that this little seed, this silly seed, would be so powerful? But you know, carrying that around, and whenever you get hungry, you eat it. It also has protein, so that means that it satiates you more. And if you're losing weight too much, it actually helps you maintain weight. I call it the concept of foodicin, food that's medicine, as opposed to everything else that's poison. You know, a donut, I know, we're not going to get into that. But it's concentrated form of everything bad that you can put into something. But then you have these things that are concentrated food. So having these with you is not as crazy an idea as you would think. So because then it helps you not cheat and helps you maintain satiation, you know, fullness. That's our little take on this.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, so moving on. Well, no, I'm actually
One back?
not done yet.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So beans and lentils. I wanted to speak about beans and lentils. We're always saying, we always get asked. So if you guys suggest a whole food plant-based diet, what about protein? Where do you get your protein from? From beans. Beans are the cleanest source of proteins. And when you look at the blue zones that we talked about earlier, people basically eat beans, and that's a phenomenal food. And it's not just, what type of bean. We actually have a lot of different kinds of beans. We have the black beans and chickpeas and white beans. We have fava beans. I actually got samples for you guys here. Green lentils, red lentils, mung bean, and all of these have incredible amount of fiber. You will never find fiber in animal protein, but these come with plant proteins as well as fiber. As a nation, we're actually suffering from fiber deficiency. That's what we should worry about. We don't even get about 5 to 10 grams of protein on a regular basis, and if we can get up to 30 to 50 grams, that's amazing. Did you have a question?
Well, Dr. Richard Barmakian says lentils are one of the 4 best foods that you can eat in the whole world.
Absolutely.
But I'm wondering, since there's so many different colors of lentils, are there 2 best ones that I can focus on?
Not really. Whichever one you like. Do you know of 2
Yes.
good ones?
I like them all.
Yeah, the 2 that you like are the best.
Yes, yeah.
What are the 2 best forms of exercise? The 2 that you like.
I like them all.
But actually, that's what it is. The whole point is, as physicians, we are so prescriptive that we limit people, and we fail them on purpose. Not purpose, but we fail them because that's all we know is prescriptive. We have to work around your proclivities. We have to work around your desires and the good thing that fits that. So all the beans are good. And if you don't like one, then I know you like all of them again. But exercise or mental or brain games. Eventually Sudoku company, there is no such thing, will sue me. But if I have to do Sudoku, I'm going to get depression. But my mother likes it and other people like it. So you have to do it around the things you like. Food, the same thing. The same questions we get asked every time. I want my kids to eat healthy. My God, who needs good food more than kids, where their brains are being built right then? That's not just connections. We're talking about the cells being built. And we don't pay attention to that at all. But we do. We focus on that. The same thing over and over again. My kid doesn't like broccoli. Well, it's like the red skeleton joke. Doctor, it hurts when I do this. Don't do that. If he doesn't like broccoli, there's a whole slew of other vegetables that you can work around. You can hide it, you can shape it, you can mix it up, you can juice it, you can mix it up with different kind of foods. But the idea is to kind of make it available to that person, so that then it becomes the nidus, the focus of success. That's the critical thing.
I don't really like peas, but I love the pea soup. I mean, it's like such a good way of,
Yeah. Alex hates peas to the point that he makes these weird facial gestures. But my mom made this amazing pea soup, and that's his favorite food. Yeah. So that's a critical thing. That's a beautiful. So, sorry, did I?
No,
beans.
We're having a conversation.
The beans are. There's this book that came out, and we're going to say it, Plant Paradox. Yeah. #1 book in the country. Why? Because it's saying the things that people want to hear. Oh, just stick to what you're doing. Plants are bad. Eat meat, based on no science. And I'm saying this so that I get sued, so I can then go to court and then prove that there's no science behind it. There is no science behind that. The chemical that he's talking about is lectin.
Yeah.
And lectin is supposed to be a poison. And then, of course, guess who has the solution for it?
He does.
He does. The vitamins that actually block the lectin protein. So, of course, that's the way it works. What's the highest source of lectin? Beans. In the blue zones, what's the common denominator in all the blue zones? As much as I would like to say exercise, that's not. As much as I would like to say natural walking, it is. But the most common factor is beans. So if beans have the highest lectin, yet it's the common factor of health, how could the 2 work? Beans are. Oh, and then you want to tell me about the second meal effect of beans?
Yes. So beans have what they call a second meal effect. It basically means that
when you, say for example, you decide to eat a bean burrito in the morning, and then you just happen to have a donut afterwards, by accident. That bean that you had for breakfast actually keeps the sugar from the donut in your gut. So it regulates the sugar in every other part of your dietary pattern because it has so much fiber and complex starches that it kind of just absorbs the sugar and keeps it in your gut and slowly and gradually releases it so your brain doesn't go into a shock. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and it speaks to the whole concept of sugar is simple. It's simple and complex sugars. It's about
we're talking about
low glycemic and high glycemic. It's about the body seeing the glucose released slowly or rapidly. So any food kind of sugar that you're getting that's rapid is going to shock the cells and all the things that follow, the cycles, and receptors that go in, and the inflammation that starts, and the proteins that are, the kind of glucose that's released slowly is not bad, despite what they keep this new fad thing is low carb this and all. This is wrong. Complex carbs and fiber have been shown to be correlated with lower cancer, lower stroke,
dementia.
heart disease, dementia. So complex carbs are good because they let the sugar release slowly. Now beans do that. Beans do that over time. Whatever food you're consuming, it helps release the sugar slowly. And that's the key to this. There's more to it, but that's basically it.
Yes.
I was just going to say that's the reason I think then that a piece of fruit is better than fruit juice.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because it's connected with that fiber.
Exactly.
And the body has to.
Absolutely. Thank you for adding that. That's exactly right. Absolutely.
How much is in a glass of sugar? A good juice? How much sugar?
30-something.
Grams. Yeah.
Yeah. Apple juice has about 30.
In a normal glass.
37 grams of sugar in 8 ounces. So yeah. Which brings us to whole grains. There are a lot of people who say that bread is bad for you. There's actually books written about the bad things about bread and gluten this and gluten that. 1 out of 3 people now in the United States has some sort of gluten intolerance, and there's only 1% of the population that has true gluten allergy or wheat sensitivity.
It's
or
1 out of
gluten
133.
sensitivity.
Sorry?
1 out of 133, right?
Yes.
Right. So there's
He's
a
our
very,
data source.
Yeah. There's my Google Scholar, PubMed. So there's a very small number of people who do really have some sort of an immune deficiency where their bodies can't tolerate immune. For the rest of us, though, we're not. It's like, if somebody has peanut allergy, stay away from peanut allergy. But it doesn't mean that all of us have to stay away from peanuts. It's the same thing. So you get to hear about books like Breadhead, and you have people, Grain Brain, and people appearing on PBS of having special shows about, the evil bread and the evil grains. There's no such thing. On the contrary, research actually shows that eating whole grains, in its most natural form, is actually good. It actually reduces risk for stroke, for Alzheimer's, for heart disease, for diabetes, for cancers, you name it. It's amazing. Yes, it's the white bread and it's the cakes and the muffins and the the processed grains that are actually harmful for you. So whole wheat grain, 100% whole wheat grain is good for you. We talked about herbs and spices and teas. Moving on. So as you saw, there was a lot we could eat every day. There are a couple of things. Yes, sir.
Tea and coffee.
Yes.
Is it as effective without caffeine as it is with caffeine?
So it's actually the anti-inflammatory compounds other than caffeine that are incredibly good for you. Caffeine is not bad. As a matter of fact, they've done studies on coffee consumption and Parkinson's disease, and people who drink coffee, 1 or 2 cups of coffee, had reduced risk of Parkinson's. So there are a lot of anti-inflammatory compounds in coffee. And caffeine is not bad unless you have high blood pressure or some sort of a heart condition where you have arrhythmias. But there's nothing wrong with caffeine. Yes. Thank you for that question.
The only time that caffeine, although that needs to be studied further, as scientists we have to always say that. This is not the venue to talk about level 1, level 2, level 3 science. That's still in level 2, 3. So the correlation is not, causation has not been established strongly. But study after study shows that there's strong correlation. And the correlation was negated when there was added sugar and milk. So that's the element that needs to be.
Essentially.
Yes.
Yes.
Coffee and tea.
Yes.
Every day, even without caffeine. And
That's
To
correct.
the best of our
Yes,
knowledge, yes,
yes.
yes.
Yeah, especially green tea. Green tea has been studied in multiple populations and observational studies. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that
Did
question.
they add sugar to milk?
No, not to.
No, we said it's the sugar in the milk and tea and coffee that are actually not good. It's the harmful components of it. But the tea and the coffee itself, they seem to be
How
healthy.
about
Yes.
pears?
Yes, sir.
How about people that are nervous and when they have caffeine, it can really get rid of
Yes. So that, yeah, I mean, if you have that condition, and some
Maybe it
people
doesn't affect
do,
your brain?
it definitely makes focusing and attention very difficult.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. There is a set of population who don't do very well with caffeine, and so they should stay away from it.
How
Yes.
about pure stevia extract?
Pure stevia extract seems to be harmless. It's a plant source of sweetness, sweeteners, and absolutely, I think it's a great replacement for the regular sugar. Other sources of healthier
Erythritol.
sugars are monk fruit, date sugar. Although date sugar doesn't really taste very good in tea and coffee, it kind of makes it very thick. But monk fruit or even erythritol, it's a fruit sugar and has no calories, and it doesn't have that sugar spike in blood circulation.
What about honey?
Honey is sugar. Honey is, I know that it's quote unquote natural, but so is lightning. Don't let me try it.
Sugar substitute or whatever. What was our first one?
Stevia. Stevia.
Okay.
Stevia, yes.
Thank you.
We'll hopefully
Yes.
the notebook will have all this, which
We'll
is.
have all of that for you.
Yeah.
Yes. So some of the things that we can't eat, some of the fruits have a lot of sugar in them, like pineapple or mangoes. And for some of us who have high blood sugars or diabetes, sorry, I'm in front of you, I think it's best to kind of reduce it to a couple of times a week instead of eating it every day. Every other food is phenomenal. Wine. I wanted to kind of talk about wine because we get that question a lot. Is wine good for me? It has resveratrol. Well, the data on wine is interesting. It seems like it's not the resveratrol or the anti-inflammatory compounds that are actually good for you. But for a lot of people, we believe because wine is usually, it kind of calms people down. It's that calmness or it's that conviviality where people actually drink wine together. That seems to be something that's helpful. But wine in itself, not really.
Resveratrol is the chemical they found that actually positively affects even your genes. But the amount of wine that you would have to drink for that to be effective is a crate a day, and the other side effect would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Liver disease, yes.
Can you get the equivalent or more benefit from either drinking cranberry juice or pomegranate, or is there too much sugar in that?
And the latter. There's too much sugar in that. So the best would be to just eat grapes. Just eat grapes and berries. Because other than resveratrol, you get thousands of other compounds that are great for you too. Yes. Okay. And dark chocolate, my favorite. Dark chocolate seems to have anti-inflammatories as well. Raw cacao powder is a great way to make hot chocolate. It's full of anti-inflammatory compounds.
She's a culinary artist as well. It's another word for it is cook. She actually did the courses when she was doing a fellowship in Colombia. So she makes these amazing pastries that are fat-free and sugar-free. So whenever we get the go-ahead to be able to do that, we'll bring it next time. And
Absolutely.
You'll get,
We'll make some hazelnut chocolate truffles together. Yes. Okay. All right. Well.
Sophie said yes.
Yes. All right. Carbs are not your enemies. Everybody's on low-carb diet nowadays, it seems. How many of you have heard low-carb diet? Or your children or your relatives pushing you to go on a low-carb diet? Doesn't work that way. Carbs are good for you. It's a type of carb that matters, There are simple carbs, refined, sugary foods. Yeah, those are terrible for you. But there are complex carbohydrates in vegetables, in sweet potatoes, in baked regular potatoes, in brown rice, in whole wheat bread. Those are amazing because they're a great source of of that fiber that we were talking about and anti-inflammatory compounds. Yes. And then the same concept goes for fats. All fats are not bad. It's the type of fat that matters. Animal fats or saturated fats and cholesterol, they result in the atherosclerosis or the plaque formation and inflammation in the brain. And mono and polyunsaturated fats that are found in nuts and seeds and avocados and in plant oils are good. And some people say, so what do you suggest? What kind of oil should we cook in? And we say, try to see if you can get rid of oil as much as you can. But if you have to use oil, extra virgin olive oil seems to be the best. But we had a patient and we said extra virgin olive oil is good, and he misunderstood, and it was my fault not to clarify, and he was basically guzzling down glasses of olive oil on a regular basis, and I was like, no. So as a replacement for other types of fat, olive oil is good, but in very small amounts, like as in dressing of a salad, or even the sprays, the olive oil cooking sprays are better than others. Next slide, please. All right, so the key. So I think we all now know, what are some of the good things and what are some of the bad things. The key is how do you make it a habit? How do you make it accessible? I think that's the key. More than understanding what kind of foods are good and bad for you is how do you incorporate it in your life? Would you like to say something?
Yeah. So we think, first part is with all the noise, figuring out what's good. And in summary, basically, low sugar or no sugar. Natural sugar, get rid of it, and and then as far as fat's concerned, poly and monounsaturated fat is good, which are plant fats. One of the plant fats, just today an article came that said, well, I guess another fat is about to die. The coconut oil fat is dying fast because coconut oil is one of the few plant fats that has 92% saturated fat. So most of plant fats, including especially avocado and others, are good fats. So poly and monounsaturated fats are great. That's it. Those two concepts should be able to direct you quite a bit. But more importantly, how do we change our habits at any age? It's simply based on small steps of success and a direction. Every behavior has a goal up there and small steps that you define for yourself. Everybody has to have their personalized journey. There's no way that one book can give you the direction unless you make it personalized. That's why in our book, the difficulty was they wanted just one plan for everybody. And we kind of insisted that this has to be, if you notice in the last chapters, is what are your strengths? What are your proclivities? What are your limitations? It has to be built around that. So given that, here's the whole food plant-based diet, no sugar. And within the proteins, I like these, and I don't like these. Within the vegetables, I like these, and you kind of make your own little map, and you can add to that just to give you more variety over time. And given that, I'm going to have a journey that starts very slowly. If you're very motivated, great. Like our patient, one patient, highly motivated, right away went into it. But if you want to slowly, gently walk into it, one tangible thing. So one of the things that usually people start with is sugar. Why? Because we see the most response there. First 6 weeks, very difficult because sugar is addictive. It's as addictive as any drug. Yes?
And to drink more water.
Yes. Water is fantastic. Water is critical, absolutely, because it's the ultimate cleanse in the body. We were in Beverly Hills. Every cleanse you can think of from every pore. Sorry, I know I'm at home. I'm not supposed to be but cleanse du jour. Water and sleep are cleanse. That's it. So the most important thing is to make sure that you take your first step. The most common first step we start our patients with is sugar, because although it's difficult, it's very measurable. I know what sugar is, right? I don't know fiber is. It takes some learning to figure out what fiber is and what has protein, but sugar I'm pretty clear. Once you come off sugar, after 6 to 8 weeks, almost every one of our patients say the first 5 weeks was difficult. But after that, there's a lifting of the fog. And we hear that commonly. Commonly we hear that. So then after that you start the next thing and the next thing, reduce the animal fats, reduce the dairy, increase the vegetables of all types. Plan, plan, plan. Where we fail is when we don't plan, and that one party makes us fail, and then for the next week we feel guilty and keep eating and say, oh, I'll start the next week anyway, you know. So plan ahead. Plan when you shop. In fact, on YouTube, on Facebook, we have a whole series of 10 things. It's about your shopping habits, your going out habits to restaurants, your partying habits, not like you're partying wild parties, but just partying, eating at work and outside of home, snacking. You know, these are the things that actually make a life, and you have to create habits around each of these. Once you do that, you've actually done the most important thing for health. You know, people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on retreats and on this chemical and this vitamin, or some gentleman in UCLA is actually charging people $30,000 for brain something with a whole concoction of vitamins, which there's no data. This is actually what works. When you work around those 10 elements at home and snack, how do you keep food around the home so when you get hungry, which actually takes over your frontal lobe, you can't have any judgment when you're hungry, then the only thing you have is nice, healthy foods. When you go shopping, never go shopping hungry. When you go to a restaurant, eat something beforehand. When you go to a party, eat something beforehand, have something on the side next, you know, in your pocket, and then you plan when you go there, you know there's going to be some food and stuff. Yeah, you want to, you know, dabble, but you don't want to go crazy. So these are the tricks, and I hate the word tricks. These are the techniques that are needed to live healthfully. Where we are, we keep saying this. This is sick care. Extremely important. We all needed it. I would have been dead with my back surgeries and all that if there wasn't sick care. But health care is in the home and the clinic. Home and the community, and at work. We just gave the talk at one of the biggest companies, and we said, if you're somewhere in a job for 8 hours to 10 hours a day, don't you think this is the best place as far as food habit, exercise, stress management? And this is a very, very worker-oriented company, and they're completely focusing everything toward their workers as far as stress management, food, everything. So that's the key is planning. The key is planning, and the habits are small steps. Sorry.
So is the idea to get rid of all sugars or just a majority of sugar?
It's like saying, usually people say moderation, right?
Yeah.
My least favorite word on the planet. If you would have come to me 15 years ago and you said, eat meat moderately, you know what that would have meant? That would have meant 3 times a day instead of 4. Or if you would have said, drink Diet Coke moderately, although even now I drink 1 can or so or 2 a day, and I'm trying to get off of it. Just 10 years ago, moderately would have meant 5 cans instead of 12. So the optimal goal is that, but don't jump to that.
But see, a lot of food, and I think people, and I didn't realize, you know, I started like reading the label. Like everything has sugar.
Yes.
And it's like, it's in everything.
You're absolutely right. So they're not dumb. They're smart. It's addictive, right? It's sugar. Your body was designed to kind of search for the high energy food, and we were only designed to live to 30 years. Here it is. Eat, and reproduce, and die. Not in that order necessarily. So, and up to 1940s, the average age throughout the world was in their 30s. Alexander the Great died at 33, and people say, oh, poor guy. That was the average. He did pretty good for himself, 33 years. Only after we got the antibiotics, the surgeries, the treatments. How many people have had an infection? We would all be dead before 1930s. How many people here had a surgery?
Wow.
We would all be dead before 1900s. So we're living to 80. With that comes the expectation of better brain aging, right? Brain was not designed. So now we want to give the brain, this overly used, overly taxed organ, the chance to live properly. But at the same time, this little organ that's overtaxed, In that problem is the solution. 87 billion neurons. 1 quadrillion connections. 1 times 10 to the 50th power. But we never, people say we only use 10% of the brain, right? No, we use 100% of the brain very inefficiently. The solution is to use it efficiently. Now you're saying, what do we do with all this sugar? So they're smart, everything, 70%, supposedly I read somewhere that this is the one that I have not done research on, so I always, whenever I haven't done research, I say, disclaimer, somewhere that 70% of foods that are packaged have sugar in it, including hot dogs. I mean, who would have thought? Yes, because, yeah. So, by the way, hot dogs, you should see what's in the hot dog. Yeah, sugar is the least of your problem in there. So what do? That's why slowly your ultimate goal is whole food plant-based. What does whole food mean? Unprocessed. If you can't do that, do one step. Aisha did one of the largest studies in the country, won the award for it, American Heart Association award for it. I'm in the middle author because I'm the husband and I did some talking here and there, so I get the privilege of doing it. Hey, I get the privilege. So, but in that study, 144,000 people. You want?
No,
You say,
go ahead.
no.
Don't start the conversation.
144,000 teachers, California teacher study, well-studied, diet and everything, and stroke. So what stops stroke from happening? Not much. We don't have much. Even aspirin is effective, but not that effective. So a Mediterranean with a focus on plant-based. When people think Mediterranean, they think fish. No, the effective part of Mediterranean diet is the plant-based component, okay? And it's not the wine. It's the plant-based component. And it's not, God knows what else that comes out, but that's the plant-based component. They divided it into 9 sectors. The most adherent, meaning the people that were completely plant-based, to 1 step, right? 1 to 9. This is a really well-studied study. I mean, 144,000. It doesn't get any more robust than that over many, many years, and in California. And it wasn't all or none. That's where doctors fail people. Either do this or 0. No. Every step people took added 10% benefit. 10% reduction every couple of seconds. 10% reduction in risk until the population that was most adherent had 44% reduction in stroke risk. And of course that means dementia as well and everything else. So it's not all or none. The goal is whole food plant-based, but if you can't do it, that's okay. Work towards it. So in the book we said 2 words, WTE, WTI. Not A and N, all or none. That's failure. WTE is work towards eliminating, towards. WTI, work toward increasing. So that should be your plan. Anything else creates failure. Here's the goal, and I'm going to take 1 step. I'm going to eat 1 extra salad without the salad dressings that are 90% fat, but lemon and some other kind of salad dressings. I'm going to add 1 salad per week starting. I usually have this for lunch. From now on, this Wednesday lunch is going to be 1 salad. And you would think that that's not benefit. That is benefit because 2 things. One is you've taken a positive step that was successful toward a habit. That 1 step is actually humongous. That foundational step is the step that every other step is built upon. Second thing is that salad actually was not just the benefit of the salad. You took away something harmful, so it was double benefit. So every time you can only eat so much. When you take away something, when you put something positive, you've actually taken away something negative, right? Then you go to the 2nd step, 3rd step, 4th step. That's the whole planning thing. If people come here and they think we're going to give them berry of the day, it's not the place. It's work, it's a plan, it's a goal, and small steps. So you're absolutely right. Everything has sugar. So the idea is to become label readers, right? And what do you look for in labels?
Sugar.
And what else?
Saturated fats.
Yes, saturated fats and sugar. And fiber as well. But saturated fats and sugar are the 2 things. And we pick an arbitrary number for cereals, for them, for example. If it's less than 6%, we have to live with it for now. But usually we eat oatmeal and things with fruits on it and things of that nature, which is amazing. Growing up in Pittsburgh, what is oatmeal with fruits on it? Berries. What is that? But now I love it. It's fantastic because you feel good.
A
Does that
great
make
way
sense?
to eat food is to eat foods that don't have labels on them, that have only one ingredient.
Right.
Yeah.
Apple, banana, orange.
And the label is on a stem.
Wrapped around it.
That's right. Okay, so that's basically, should we show the recipe or should
No,
we start with the
let's
exercise?
start the exercise.
Okay,
Yes.
so now we're going to start the exercise section of the program. Does anybody have any other questions about nutrition?
We'll come back to nutrition.
Yes,
I guess.
we'll definitely. Oh, yes, ma'am.
It's not a question, but it's from what you were just saying and what I read in the book. It's
No,
that
we're gonna-
every
yeah, and
single
then we're gonna
thing
start
that
it
you
again.
add